The UFC middleweight title fight is officially set. It will be champion Israel Adesanya defending his title against Sean Strickland in the main event of UFC 293, September 9th in Sydney. It's a done deal. Got to give credit to Spinning Backfist from Barstool. They're the ones who had this, I think it was a couple days ago, maybe last week, something around there. But Dana White just announcing this right now. Credit to my buddy Marcel Dorff, who you got to be following Marcel. He's Mr. News these days. It's confirmed. It's officially happening. And can I just quickly say, good on the UFC. They made the right call here. Obviously, if we go all the way back to what we thought was going to happen, it was supposed to be Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya. We have now since found out that Dricus du Plessis having a foot injury, not able to take this fight, totally understandable. So this, in my opinion, was the next best option. Now, I know there'll be some purists out there, some people that are basing things off merit, saying Jared Cannonier should have got this instead, but he already fought Israel Adesanya, and he fought him last July, and that was a fight that was not that appealing. And I've said this, I've done a number of videos on this. The build-up to this fight is going to be great. Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya, press conference-wise, this is going to be very entertaining. And I think this is exactly the type of main event they needed for Sydney. You know, had they gone a different route, if they had to gone with a different fighter, I mean, there was all types of talks of what was potentially going to happen here. And I said this before, the UFC pinned themselves in a corner by making this event in September, making it known that Israel Adesanya was going to be headlining this card. So with all that in mind, with the context we have here, this was the right fight to make because, again, I think you're getting, there's interest in Sean Strickland. There absolutely is. Whether you love him or hate him, people want to see either Sean Strickland lose or they want to see him win. And like I mentioned, there's a lot of back and forth between these two. So this is going to be very exciting to watch. Let's do a quick tail of the tape here between these two. Again, this is an official fight now per Dana White. Israel Adesanya, you can see they're the champion, 34 years old, 32 for Sean Strickland, 24-2 record for Adesanya, 27-5 for Strickland, 6'4" to 6'1", so Adesanya gonna have a 3-inch height advantage in this fight, an 80-inch reach compared to 76, so a 4-inch reach for Israel Adesanya in this matchup. Adesanya is gonna be favored, there's no doubt about it. The question is, what will the betting odds look like? If I had to guess right now, I'd say Adesanya is going to be about a 3-1 favorite, maybe close to a 4-1 favorite. I would probably put him out about minus 350 in this fight, just because the problem with the Strickland end of things is, how's he going to win this fight? Strickland's not a one-punch knockout guy. I know he is coming off a win in his last fight by stoppage, but that's not typical of Sean Strickland. Strickland typically goes the distance. He's not like an incredible grappler. Sean Strickland's just a very well-rounded fighter, but he doesn't excel in one particular area. With Adesanya, you could almost say the same thing, although Adesanya coming off a knockout win himself. But I know there's going to be a lot of people looking at this matchup and saying Israel Adesanya wins by, quick knockout, all this stuff. I don't see it. Strickland's been proven to be pretty durable in the weight class. They said the same thing about Abus Magomedov. This guy's going to knock out Strickland. I saw a lot of people saying that, by the way, so this isn't some outlander take here. Strickland, I think, has been proven to be pretty durable overall in his career. If you look at it, typically he does lose by decision. He has, two key knockout losses. Obviously, there was the loss to Zaleski at welterweight, and then he had the knockout loss to Alex Pereira, but everyone's getting knocked out by Alex Pereira. Israel Adesanya lost via TKO to Alex Pereira as well. The guy's extremely talented. But let's look at Adesanya's body of work. Again, very impressive champion here for the most part. Won his belt back from Alex Pereira in a fight that was very close, right? I mean, if you watch that back, people were nervous on both sides seeing what was going to happen there. And it was a second round counter right that knocked out Alex Pereira. Pereira's first loss in the UFC, and forced Pereira up to middleweight, or to light heavyweight, I should say. And then he obviously lost the fight prior to that. And then he had the couple fights there with Jared Cannonier, Robert Whittaker, Marvin Vettori. Vettori fight was very dominant. Robert Whittaker fight was very close, right? If you go back and watch that, there were some people that felt like Whittaker maybe edged that one out. I personally thought Adesanya won, but again, very good win there. And then Jared Cannonier, not the most exciting win, but a win that I don't think anyone felt like Cannonier got it done. Did lose the one fight to Jan Blachowicz at light heavyweight, and then had the finish over Paulo Costa back in 2020, which was a very impressive win. I saw a lot of people going into that fight thinking Costa by knockout, and it's Adesanya who ends up getting it done there. So again, really good opponent for the circumstances. I think, like I said, this is better than seeing the Jared Cannonier fight again. If all things, if Izzy was not, sort of pinned to headline this card at UFC Sydney, I would say wait a couple months and do him and Dricus. I mean, I think it goes without saying, Dricus is going to fight the winner of this fight. I don't think there's any question about that. If Strickland wins, I still think Dricus is going to fight for the title next, regardless of what happens. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think Dricus, the performance he had against Robert Whittaker, that has got to earn him the winner of this fight, in my opinion, regardless of who it is. But there we go. That's Adesanya's body of work. Now, Strickland, Look, I think Strickland's very underrated. Forget about Sean Strickland, the person. Forget about some of his views on certain things. As far as Sean Strickland, the fighter goes, I mean, again, very good win over Abus Magomedov. First round, obviously, Abus won. Second round, Sean Strickland took over and got the finish. That was a big win for him there. Imavov, that was a fight where I want to say Strickland was the underdog going into that fight. And granted, that was at 205 pounds. And I mean, regardless, people thought that, he was an underdog going into that one. So again, Strickland's been counted out a lot and he's been proving a lot of people wrong. That was a good one over Imavov. Again, no short notice, maybe not the most ideal thing there. Lost a split decision to Jared Cannonier in a fight that some people felt like Strickland won. It was very close, right? So I don't think it's one of those performances where you can say like, man, Jared really beat the brakes off him. It was super close. Again, I think that's your proof right there that Strickland's right there for being a contender. So I think this title shot's deserved. People look at the knockout loss to Pereira. Pereira's knocking out a lot of people these days. Beat Jack Hermanson. That should have been unanimous. I thought he clearly won there. And then a couple wins over a few guys that aren't in the UFC anymore, including Uriah Hall, Christoph Yako. But how about that Brendan Allen win? That has aged extremely well. Allen has looked outstanding since that loss. So, or since that win, I should say, that Strickland got over Allen. So yeah, I mean, forget about the welterweight version of Sean Strickland. I think he was cutting too much weight. He didn't have an amazing record there, but since being at middleweight, he's only had 2 losses, and one of them, I mean, you could argue could go the other way here. So I know there'll be people saying, no, Strickland doesn't deserve it, but you have to remember in the context of what we're given here, which is that the plan was always for Israel Adesanya to headline this card. Again, if they're not stuck to those rules, if they're not saying Israel has to headline this card, then I say you move the fight a couple months and you let Drakus fight for the title. But that's not where we're at right now. This is the next best option. I mean, who else would have fought for this title right now if you're thinking about it? I know some people, I've heard some crazy people say that, maybe not crazy, but people say, oh, Chimaev, give Chimaev the title shot. Well, we don't even know how he's going to look against Paulo Costa. I mean, he should beat Paulo Costa, but I mean, the options are very slim. I even had someone argue Robert Whittaker should get the next shot against Izzy because they had such a close fight. You can't give Robert Whittaker a title shot off of the way he lost that last fight to Drakus. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion on that. And then, yeah, outside of that, there really was no other option. So just good on the UFC for making this fight. I'm extremely excited to see what the press conference is going to look like. Go back and watch the presser at UFC 276 when Adesanya was fighting Jared Cannonier and Sean Strickland was fighting Alex Pereira. I mean, Strickland owned that press conference. He was very good at the verbal warfare going into that one, and it was extremely interesting to see the way that Izzy was a little bit flustered, dare I say, in some of the trash talk. So if the UFC's smart, get these guys doing some media, get them doing a bit of press stuff. One thing I should mention just off the top, Dana White has confirmed this fight, but do we know if Sean Strickland's got his visa yet? Like, Dana has confirmed this, but we've seen him confirm fights before and maybe they don't pan out. So, I mean, the UFC saying this fight's happening, I'll take their word for it, but let's hope that Strickland's visa issues aren't a problem. Let's hope that the travel there isn't an issue. I know Strickland's had some, past stuff that has prevented him from getting in other countries is my understanding as well. So, hopefully all is good on that front and we can just get this fight because I think the fans in Australia deserve it. Obviously they've come out, they've bought the tickets. This was without a main event. They bought tickets. So I think they deserve a good fight. And I think, this might not be the best fight they could put together in the middleweight division, but Strickland's going to make it entertaining to the lead up. And honestly, I don't think Strickland's that boring. I think he gets a bad rap for that. I think he's just a well-rounded guy who doesn't excel in one particular area. So you're not going to see him get a lot of finishes and you're typically going to see him go the distance there. But I'll give you my quick pick here. I will do an early look on this, obviously. But it's going to be Adesanya decision. I don't know if he finishes Strickland. I can't see Strickland goofing around in a title fight when he knows this is probably one of his few opportunities to fight for a title. I think he could be a bit more strategic. Work on some game plan stuff and, maybe Strickland edges out a decision here, but I don't think so. I think the most likely scenario here is Adesanya winning a decision here. So like I said, I think the line is going to be high on Adesanya's side. I could see it being about 4-1. I would be looking for that Adesanya by decision prop, or I might even be looking with the over because Strickland is a tough guy to take out. And again, you look at some of the guys that he's fought, they are finishers. Abus is a finisher. Imavov has finished a number of opponents. Jack Hermanson, submitted Calvin Gastelum. We didn't see him do that against him. Jared Cannonier's got knockout power, wasn't able to do anything there. Pereira's really the only one at middleweight that's had success in finishing Sean Strickland. So that's why I could see this fight potentially going the distance. So there you go. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. First off, what do you think of the fight? Keep in mind the circumstances that Adesanya had to headline this card. Do you think this was the fight to make? Number 2, what is your pick? How do you see it going down? And number 3, what are you expecting at the press conference? It might get a little out of control, but I think that stuff's entertaining. We'll have to see what happens there. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. I'm James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.